welcome everybody. Today we are here on another episode of Feed Your Mind podcast, where we feed your mind with incredible stories, interviews with experts in different fields, so you can level up your life in many areas. Today, our special guest is a person that typically thinks of three things at any given moment. Thinks about life, long marriage, world impact family, and building a multi-million-dollar businesses. This person has dominated the B2B and B2C sales game for years. And in the last 4 businesses he started, he's done over, in each one of them, every year, he did over 7 figures. He's a father of 2 boys and a new beautiful baby girl. When he's not in the office, he is competing in one of my favorite hit shows, American Ninja Warriors. Also, he's a CEO of a brand new, groundbreaking software, which is called Flowchat. And he is here to share a lot of different things with us. But one of the biggest things that I know about this individual, he's got amazing client experience that he's showing people through intelligent and interactive branding while delivering massive client success. There's so many clients. I'm one of his clients as well. And let's give a big warm welcome to Chris Baden. Welcome to the podcast. Oh man, I know, like when I saw you, you were in Ninja Warrior. This is like one of my favorite shows. I wish I could be as fit as you.
It's, and there's all different types of ninjas, Rafal.
Yes,
there's season 2, season 3, season 4 ninjas, and then there's now they're on like season 12 or 13 or something, and it's been really fun. So from we're talking to all fellow entrepreneurs here, okay? So let's talk about American Ninja Warrior as a brand, as a company, and the community and tribe that they built over the last decade. It's been, because when I was started competing, they weren't on NBC yet, so they were on a subsidiary network, G4. And for all the hardcore fans that know back then. And then, so you were competing in the day, and it was on a smaller network. Yep. But the brand and the community all started growing. Now, check this out. When you can give somebody an identity within your own movement, your own tribe, your vision's big enough to hold more people, and therefore it does. So it wasn't just the American Ninja Warrior. It was the RV Ninja, or the Natty Ninja, or the this ninja, and the that ninja. And so everyone was building their own little subculture and interest within the global Ninja Warrior brand. And that, to be a part of it for about a decade, it was like really cool to see that grow. And people started building all this stuff in their backyard. And I was like, look, I got 3 kids. I'm married. I work full time. Like, I'm not trying to train 40 hours a week to go run these obstacles. So it was, I got to do some testing on the finals and Mount Midoriyama, the 75-foot rope.
Oh, you did that one as well.
Yeah. So the sweet, you got to find your spot, right? I'm like, look, I'm not going to train to compete. They're world-class rock climbers that win this thing. Like, they've been climbing for 10 years. I'm not going to compete against those people or commit to conditioning my body to do that. But I still want to play on the obstacles, Rafal. So how do I solve the problem? Well, I started talking to some of the producers, and a good friend of mine, Dustin Rocco, he's also on the show. His family's on the show and stuff. He was on it for 7 years. Like, he hooked it up. Like, so networking, talking, like we got to go and do some test the actual obstacles. And I live in Las Vegas, so the finals are here in Las Vegas. So we would just go over there, and I get to test them all and make sure they're all set up right. And, they're trying to get everything in line. So I still got to do them all.
That's amazing. So you're like, there's the test pilots, and then there's you.
Exactly. And what was cool about it is that competing on the show is like, it's fun and it's cool, but it's also insanely annoying, because your call time is like at 8 at night, and I didn't run till 6 in the morning. So I stayed up all night waiting to go do the thing. That's not fun. What's fun is just playing on the obstacle. So what works better there is you get to start in the warehouse. We went out to LA and we tested some, and then they refined them to where Universal Studios was that particular year. So then we were oh, it doesn't quite work this way. We need to widen the gaps or whatever. You do all that stuff. And then you actually get to see how it turns out and what people really run. But you get to be a part of that creation process. That was a lot more fun to me.
I have so many Ninja Warriors fans, and I didn't even know about all this, so they love to hear it. But anyways, guys, who is Chris Baden, guys? I know you live in Vegas, so maybe let's introduce you a little bit, because there's going to be a lot of new audience checking things out. I know Ninja Warrior. I'm just excited. Sorry, guys, we started off with the Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, we went deep.
You know what? I've tried it. I mean, I was in Vegas, actually. They had like a little obstacle course. You need a lot of strength. Like, it looks easy, but it's totally not. So no, definitely. But yeah, no, Chris, so let's just maybe get to know you a little bit. I know you live in Vegas. I know you're a big family man and stuff, but let's just go into a little bit more information. And then afterwards, what I want to get into, guys, is something that a lot of entrepreneurs have problem with, especially when it comes to lead generation or just finding leads. And we'll get into that. We'll do some screen share, and we'll show you guys something that I've been doing. I'm actually a ninja. I call myself a Flowchat ninja. That's a different kind of ninja. I just realized it too. So yeah. So Chris, so let's get to know you a little bit.
Right on. Where should we start, Rafal?
Well, let's start off maybe like when you begin the journey of entrepreneurship. How did that start? Because I know that was one of the passions. We all get into sales. We all want to do something, but I think that would be a good start.
Yeah. So entrepreneurship started as a thought for me. I actually didn't identify as an entrepreneur until probably 2 or 3 years ago. Now, I haven't been employing myself and others the last 10 years of my life. And so it was weird when I was like, oh my gosh, I think I'm an entrepreneur. Like, I found out way longer into, being one. But here's the thought that hit. My first thought was, how much money do I want to make? And I share that question because that's usually not the first thought of, maybe an employee or a different, it can be, but it's just not typical. And as I continue to share the story, you'll see more of what I mean by like the personality type of an entrepreneur. Is I start with like, what's outcome, what's result, what do I want to create? And then I'm just going to go create it. So I started finding, I was like, okay, well, I want to make, how much money do I want to make? I was like, well, I was like early 20s. It's like 100 grand seems like a lot in 1 year. I don't come from money. I'm blessed with good parents, and I had shelter and clothes and got to eat food. And I'm grateful for all those things. But it's, not, doesn't have access to people that own businesses and make millions of dollars and, that's not normal for me. So I was like, 100 grand seems like a ton of money. So I found a couple, handful of different ways to do it, identified it, picked one. And it was, of course, it's ended up being sales. I know nothing about sales. I'm just on my mission trying to make 100 grand. And so it was in the payment technology industry, credit card processing. So we go to a restaurant and we pay for our burger or whatever. We give them our credit card. I was the guy that went into the restaurant, met the owner, and said, here's like the rates and all like the, hardware that you set up. It just all that stuff. You with me?
So you weren't the founder of PayPal, were you?
No, that's Mr. Elon. So I was in that. I knew nothing about the space. I've never done sales. And I watched over 40 people quit in a short period of time. And I got it because I hated it. It was high pressure, cold calling. And if you didn't survive, you're out, right? And in my second month, I'm working 70 plus hours a week for the entire month. Guess how much money I made?
0.
Fortunately, more than that, but it was only $800. And that, my friend, is not enough to live. And it certainly isn't going to help me get married, which was part of the process at that point. And so the pitch of, hey, baby, you want to live with my parents and live off food stamps? What do you like? It was a hard pitch. It wasn't going to close well. So here's something that shifted my whole, all joking aside, something that shifted my whole direction as an entrepreneur. I'm sharing this story as my starting point because I learned that I don't get paid to work. I get paid to produce results. And it shifted my thinking. And next question becomes, well, how do you get results? You get results for other people, and then you get results. And so that carried out into eventually I didn't want to leave. I wanted to leave that job as W-2 commission only sales rep, commission only. I only eat if I get results for other people. That's how I survive. And so I learned how to listen. I learned how to practice empathy. I learned how to creatively solve problems to survive. So it's those three things that were kind of the foundation for me. Listening, practicing empathy, creatively solving problems. Now, as we fast forward, I was like, I'm leaving this place 100%, but on my terms. And so after about 8 months of feeling like I was going to vomit every single day, because I'm not the sales persona or personality type or whatever, I built the skills though, and I learned how to manage a pipeline. And after just under 3 years, I signed up over 200 businesses and I got vested in a portfolio. That portfolio actually still pays me today, and I haven't worked there in like 7-8 years, right? But I sold a majority of it off. That capital allowed me to start building my own businesses. And I was obsessed. I started all my own businesses with all my own capital. And the customer ended up funding it. I would go to them. Oh, Chris, you think you're cool? You think you can go solve a problem, start a business? Okay, great. Prove it. Like, go to somebody. What result can you get them, and what amount of time? And if it's not interesting, go home, Chris, and go work harder and go figure it out and come back when you're ready. And that's more I'd say it directly, but that's kind of how my thinking goes. And that was my experience of how I survived. And when I got better at that, humbly over a lot of years, then people started paying, and then it grew, and then I invested in systems and team, and then I learned, and then I was like, oh my gosh, like, how do I run a business? Because that's a whole nother ops. I'm not an ops guy. There's all these skills. If someone told me all the skills that I had to build as an entrepreneur to actually do it, I don't know that I would have done it. I think for me, it was more like, this is who I am. This is how I think. And so it was more like, okay, I can go a different direction and my soul can die, or I can keep leaning into this and, grow my character, build my skill sets, and learn how to relate and serve more people at a bigger scale and continue to grow that way.
I think it's something that you mentioned was a lot of people want to be entrepreneur until get in, and they're like, that's not what it works. And it's just building the skills and going through the process. And especially when you get into sales, everyone thinks it's like, I've never done sales. Well, you do sales every single day. You sell your kids to eat something, you tell your friends about something, you're referring different things. But I think
every conversation, something is bought and sold, whether it's an idea, a thought, a product, a service, and to your point, it was sales. I'm so grateful that I went down the path of building that skill first in the arena of business. Because if you're talking to employees or investors, or it's all freaking sales. In fact, my two, boys, 5 and 4 years old, they have their own business. They will understand the language and the skill of sales and marketing, because whether they're a doctor and they have bedside manner, or they're a lawyer and need to be persuasive, or whatever path they decide to do, that is the number one life skill, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I mean, when I had to get my wife, she had time to sell it to get married with me. There's always.
We know you're good at sales, Rafal.
I've been with my wife for 25 years now.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Well, congratulations.
Yeah, you got to sell her on staying too, right?
Yeah, you know what? I don't have to. I just have to, behave, and everything works out. Yep. No, that's awesome, though, Chris. And then there's a lot of different things. I know there's a lot of times that when you actually go in, and we always have a mentor. Like when I first started out, obviously, me, like I worked 18 years in corporate. Yeah. And I started this as a side hustle without even knowing that ultimately this is going to turn into my passion. For the last 4 years, I've been doing this full time. Yeah. But I was lucky enough when I first started out that I ended up having like a mentor. Who is like your most important like professional mentor that actually helped you succeed?
Wow, good question. I would say, so Russell, I gotta say Russell. I admittedly haven't been listening and following him as closely as of the last year or so. But coming in this entrepreneur journey, I got to give him so much credit. So number one, I drank all of his Kool-Aid, and in my defense, it tastes really good. So, but he is a huge mentor. figure that shifted the direction of business for me. And drinking all this Kool-Aid, like going up his value ladder and doing the inner circle thing and being in an environment. This is a fun part of the story. The thing that you read earlier, building a lifelong marriage, world impacting family, multi-million-dollar businesses. Most people in my circle would look at me and, number one, not believe that's really possible, or number two, Chris, you can't have it all. It's that type of thinking and that thought. And to me, I'm like, the hell do you mean? You can't, like, what does have it all even mean? And building a lifelong marriage and a world impacting family and multi-million-dollar business, are you telling me that doesn't exist? I was like, logically, that made zero sense to me. Now, mentally, emotionally, or maybe you don't know a lot of those people, that's all acceptable. But to me, I'm like, that's kind of that's what I see for myself in my future. And so, but yet I have, like, I don't know anyone that does that. Like a year later, I didn't know what masterminds were. I didn't know what coach, all these different. I find myself in a room surrounded by, there's like maybe 40 people, 30 people in the room. They're all basically married, have kids, and run multi-million-dollar businesses. And I was like, holy crap. And
those are my people.
Yeah. There's one, it's a made up word, but it's a really powerful word that hit me. And I call it discouragement. Encouragement. It's because I'm inspired and I'm discouraged all at the same time. I'm like, wow, this is so cool. I'm the dumbest, poorest person in the room. But being in that environment, I was, and after all those emotions, like some good, some bad, it was like this weird mixed cocktail, right? But I was like, I want to be here. This is where I need to be. And I don't know if I'm trying to recall a time in life where I've actually been comfortable. I've spent so much of my life feeling very uncomfortable. And this is just another example of putting myself in that environment, but it like rewired my brain. It's just like people talk different, they think different. And then I started catching some of that. And then I started doing some of those things. And then the outcome, trajectory, and results of who I am and what I continue to earn this right to play this game of business. But look, I'm always 30, 90 days out from just eating humble pie and being like, oh crap, now what? And so while I think I've been doing it for a decade, it's very improbable. But hey, I'm not above anything. Like, I got to keep earning it every day like anyone else.
And I think what you just said too is just, even myself, when I first started out, is what is actually possible. Like, you see those guys, like I looked up to people. I'm like, really? That's what's possible? So yeah, no, it's incredible what you can do.
Yeah. Yeah. Good question. Oh, you're muted. And
mute yourself.
yeah, I want to hear what you're saying.
Getting over a cough too. Kids, you know how you have kids, they sometimes give you a cold or something. So
what?
I know that there's like when you start out any businesses, like you have failures, or something doesn't work out. What did you learn from? Maybe give us an example of some of the failures that you maybe had or gone through, and what did you learn from that experience?
Ooh. So it's just before Christmas, and I had to look all of my employees in the eye and say, you don't have a job anymore. And after I did that, I went home to my 6-month pregnant wife and said, we lost all income and I have no idea what we're going to do.
Wow.
Also, we're taking on over $30,000 in debt. So, how are we going to, and it hit really, really close and and timing wise, very fast. And it's still a hard one a little bit for me to talk about. This was 6 years ago. It was an insurance agency.
That was right before I met you, because I met you about 5 years ago.
Yep. Right after this situation, this is the catapult that brought me online.
Oh wow, that's actually, I didn't know
And
that. Yeah.
yeah, the most frustrating part about this, I wasn't screwing around. I was focused. And I hit all the goals. We were profitable. Like, to this day, I have no idea why the agency was shut down.
Wow.
So you think that you're doing well. You think you're and you're profitable, and then you're told not renewing the contract. I could pivot. I could, but at that point I'm like, there's a couple other challenges, like the model. I could only own 2 insurance offices, and to hit the goals that I saw for myself, I was like, maybe when I'm 170, I'll be rich. It just wasn't the right model to accomplish the financial goal that I had. And so, blessing in disguise. But in the moment when it's real, my sister was one of those 5 employees who was also pregnant.
Oh boy. Oh wow. See, that's that. Like, I even haven't heard the story, and a lot of us have some crazy stories. And thank you for sharing this. This is like, I know it's probably taking you back and stuff, but I know
Yeah.
there's always, when you hit that bottom, all you can do is bounce up. And I think I met you when you were just bounced up, which
You
was
met me
incredible.
when I was very hungry and very focused. And I still am hungry and focused, but in a very different way. And
Yeah.
so, the first thing I did, business is just an entity that systematically delivers a product or service. Business is just a entity that systematically delivers a product or service. How you do that and who you do that with is the art to the science. It's what's created from the heart is felt by the heart. It's the journey that brings life and fun and value to the marketplace. And so I'm really big on what I'm building and who I'm building it with. And I really liked who I really like who I've built companies with. And so even in the case I'm just sharing is family, the very first thing I did was go help them find a job right away. So there was zero break in their financial situation. So that became my new target and job. So they were taken care of. The second thing that I did was starting selling all of my furniture because I still had 2 years of a lease payment and that's a big bulk of the 30K in debt that I had. And I'm like, and anyway, so I found a way. Like, I started negotiating that debt and maybe like finding a new tenant. I just had to get focused. I had to get hungry and figure it out. And I did, fortunately. And then I also picked a much better model, which led to getting into building software companies. And for multiple different reasons. For example, if I had my agency, and if that agency did over $1 million, it sold over $1 million per year in premium. And in doing that, if I wanted to ever sell that, number one, in that particular contract, I didn't own the book and couldn't sell it with that particular carrier. So it was a Fortune 41 company at the time. And I was known as a captive agent. Ooh, wish I would have known that earlier. But learning curve, right? If I do $1 million a year in a software company, PE, private equity, AKA people with lots of money, will look at that and say, oh, well, based on your growth rate or your retention, or a fancy word, EBITDA, or acronym rather, I'll give you 5 times, 10 times, 20 times, 50 times the amount of money that you're actually doing in sales per year. And I was like, well, why the hell am I not doing that kind of business? And just hopefully that makes sense to everyone. But just as a software company, if I do $1 million a year in sales and I have a 10 multiple, that means somebody would actually be willing to pay me $10 million for my company for only doing $1 million a year in sales. My point is, the value and the stock value that I have in the market is way, way different than just running an agency. And I was like, well, you know what sucks is building all of these business. Like I suck in the way that it's just like grueling. It's not easy. And I had to build all these skill sets and da da da. Like if I'm getting raked over the coals, at least I want to, get raked over the coals and have something 10 times more valuable.
But a lot of people, they get into it and they think it's easy. Like, they see you up here, and there's a lot of people like they'll build a company. But I love the way you put down too. Like, yeah, you have something that you don't really own, and now, I mean, I remember the story that you and Sean was telling how Russell said, "Sell your company."
Yeah.
Okay, that you've just been building, and it's like that was like, and it's like, but it's like the thought is like, maybe I should listen to a person that is successful where I want to be, And I know that's when the software company came along, Flowchat, which was you are the CEO of the Flowchat company.
Yes.
Okay, and yeah, it's I don't know, like it's mind blowing because even myself, like going through everything, learning all the skills, and I got to certain success, and people they think you're like, yo, you got so much success, but they don't see what you go through to get there, what experience you have to go through, what struggles you go through, like what sacrifice you have to make. I mean, like, I don't know if I had to come in, like I remember when I was quitting my 18-year corporate job, I was so afraid to quit because I have family, kids. I have to take care of.
And you did that for 2 decades. That's what you know.
Yeah, and I thought that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And then I see guys that are like, I looked up to them. And I'm like, if they can do it, why can't I? I saw it's possible.
Yeah.
But I still took 1 year stress leave just because I was scared to quit, even though I was making really good money and stuff. But yeah, no, this is
I don't blame you, man. I think if I did something like that in your case, like for almost 2 decades, that's such a different experience.
And I was high management, top 14 Fortune 500 company. Like, I mean, it was like I was set for life. Like that's what I was already like, that's where I'm going to be for I was making like a lot of, but it is what it is, but I'm glad. I mean, 4 years full time now, I think March is going to be my anniversary coming up for 4 years, I think. Yeah.
Wow. Congrats, man.
So yeah, it's been a crazy journey. So anyways, Chris, I know we all have productivity hacks. What's one of your, like, let's say there's an entrepreneur, they want to know how to, be productive. Give us one little productivity hack that you use.
Yeah, I mean, I still do this to this day. Before I go to bed, I look at all the things that I could do tomorrow, and then I think about what are the top 2, top 3 things. Like if I only did one of them, what would move the needle forward the furthest, the fastest for the company, whether I'm a team of 1 or a team of 10 or 50, what moves the needle forward the fastest. And then I do that before I go to sleep. And then I wake up, and then I typically go attack that first thing. So here's another huge hack. You need to have at least a 2 to 4 hour block of time where you're not getting pinged and distracted or whatever in a 24-hour period. That's typically going to be later at night or earlier in the morning. Everyone has a different kind of sleep DNA. Some people are, as Sean, a business partner, I'm going to borrow what his phrase, a creature of the night. You're a night owl, more commonly known, and you stay up later. And I've done both patterns. If you work from maybe 8 to 2 in the morning or something, or whatever the time frame is. Currently, it's more of like a 4 to 7 a.m., 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. Just current household dynamic works better for me. But
especially with 3 kids,
right? So yeah, I get in, try to get a good 2-3 hours in and it's quiet. The world is quiet. I can think. And usually I was working out earlier, in the morning, and I'm like, man, like I don't really, this is like some of the best energy that I have mentally, emotionally, and thinking time that I can do. My highest priority isn't building my body right now. It's not, and I have like a sustainable trend of eat good food, move my body, stretch, drink water. I'm taking care of myself because that's part of the productivity profitability equation. but where am I most optimal during the day? What is the one or two things that give me the most leverage? And if you only did that, that 2 hours, 3 hours that you spend on your business is probably going to build it faster than the 8 hours of chaos that you feel through most of the day. And it's annoying that that's true, but that's, I don't know, what I've seen in myself and other entrepreneur
I
friends.
love what you just said because I learned this the hard way. Is like I love the book 5 a.m. Club and getting up in the
Oh,
morning,
yeah.
and you get more done in the morning in 1 hour than you can in a whole day if you
So
just
true.
focus. It's like I always compare myself. You know, the horses, they have those little blinders
Yep.
on. That's what you need, is because when you focus, you get like so much more done. That's why I actually do blocking on my calendar. Like block, this is all I do. Turn everything off, and then off I go. And now against with the Flowchat that I've been using the software. Thank you, by the way, because it just 6 months ago when I started using it, it transformed. Like I had to redo how I do my business. You know, like, and maybe let's get into. I know you want to share the screen and just show a couple of things in here too. Do we want to get
Sure.
into that lead generation and stuff, like, because I think that's one of the biggest things that people entrepreneurs have is, this is who I want to target, but where do we get them from? Like, how do I find them?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a huge part of it. And as you're saying this, what's coming to mind is one of the best productivity hacks and features might just be airplane mode on your phone.
Yeah, no, so true.
Low tech, but simple. Yeah. So in terms of like, it's very common, like, oh, like, who's your avatar? You got to find the right person. And it's really true. It's really valuable, but that becomes like the rally cry. It's like, oh yeah, just do this and it'll solve everything. And it's like, well, it doesn't, because what happens is you sit down and maybe you listening, watching this have done this, and you write out, it's like, well, they're married and they have kids or they don't have kids. And that you do like all this thinking, and you're like, wow, it's like, I don't know, really know if all these details matter, but I guess it's a good practice to go. That's how I felt when I went through it. And I still value that exercise. If you haven't done it, do it. But once you do it, you're like, okay, well, now what? And so I like to focus more on that now what part. And let me share a little analogy with you. Okay. This is about, and I'll share a screen. I will give you some tactical things. Like I'm going to give you a story. I'm going to give you principle that has helped me start my 4 business. I've built 4 different companies now in 4 different industries, and they all do at least 7 figures. And there's I do the same pattern over and over. And I'm currently studying how to run a 8-figure business per year in sales, not just,
Yeah.
hey, we did 10 million in sales. No, like 10 million a year. And then the next year you do another 10 plus million. So there's different patterns for that. But for my current patterns, I'm going to share a story and principle, and I'm going to give you specific tactics that you can go implement right now or while you're watching this. Okay. So if we're HVAC, let's say we're a lawn company. Okay. We're a lawn service company. So who's our target market? Homeowners. So we can cut, and not just any homeowners with grass. So
Not in Vegas. Not in
Vegas, yeah. And I do, we bought this home last year, and I do have grass. So, well, here's a funny story with that is if you like I buy the home, and when you buy a home, what starts happening? Things start breaking, of course, right? When you're renting, everything's cool. And then you buy, and then things break. It's just how it seems to go. So I'm like doing one of these interviews or trainings or whatever. I'm hanging in the Zoom room or whatever, right? And while that happens, I'm getting texts from neighbors, and apparently our sprinkler breaks, and the
No.
water shooting over the fence onto the neighbor's stuff, and it's just like chaos breaking out in the Baden household, neighborhood, whatever. Okay, and so if a lawn service company were to come up to my front door and say, hey, happen to notice your sprinkler broke and is leaking right now. I happen to have the tools right here to fix it. Is that something that would be helpful for you? Take my money. Yes, I need it now. Help. And so that analogy, I like to help. That's what I help people with. I help them be the lawn service company that not only finds the who, but when and how and all those other little details that actually convert a transaction. So you're not just stuck there thinking about what is ideal, but you can actually, like, I mean, this isn't hard. I can do this in a day or two, right? We just we think through that. We go find those people on social and we just start talking to them. When we sold our first software company, and the first thing we did was nothing. We're like, see ya, we're out. And then after 30 days, we're like, ah, crap, we're bored again. We still liked each other. So we got back together, business partners. We're like, well, what should we do now? It's like, well, we're in sales. So it's like, let's do a sales agency. So we interviewed 40 different companies and we just started it like really quick. So we just started chatting with people, started booking, market research calls, discovery calls, essentially. And I just asked, what are all your pains and problems around sales? That was it. And then they just started telling us. We just started writing it all down. And by just DMing people like this pattern, we wrote over $100,000 in business in less than 6 weeks. And we're like, oh, we have no website. We have no funnels. We have no paid ads, no podcasts, no challenge, no summit, no all the, I love all those things. I'm an and thinker. We've done all those things and they're profitable and good. But we're like, we had a Google Doc and DMs and, we wrote over $500,000 in business with nothing. We're like, well, that's pretty cool and helpful. It's not nothing. I'm not saying it's like, life-changing, but I'm just saying it's like, man, we're paying almost nothing to acquire high ticket, valuable customers. There's something here. So lots of thought, but I like to encourage, I'm not patient. I'm not, and the answer is not, the answer is not in my head. Or your head. We're not going to sit in a room and then have this like lightning strike moment of epiphany of exactly who we're serving and how we're going to serve and all the answers are in the mind of the market. And if we never go to the market and just ask them, they're never going to tell us and we're never going to know. What I do is I go to the market and I ask them and then they tell me. And then I come back to the market and I say, hey, would this be great? And they're like, oh my gosh, it's like you're reading my mind. I'm just listening, practicing empathy. What does it feel like to be them? And how do I creatively solve the problem for them? And that makes me valuable in the marketplace.
I love what you just said about because a lot of times we're trying to figure out, how is my ad? Like I remember when we started writing advertising, it's like, how is my ad going to do? Well, run it and let the market tell you, because you don't know until the market sees it. And same thing what you just said is when you ask what someone has a problem and you have the solution, that's how you make any business work. 100%. So yeah, no, incredible. Do you want me to share the screen here or?
Yeah, let's do it. Pop it up. So let's apply this. What does this look like? Let me give you another example. I was just talking to another business owner earlier. He is a coach consultant in the leadership space. He's been doing it for decades. And the first thing I think about are like, okay, well, who are some of those other Dream 100 or influencers in that space? A really common one that comes to mind is John Maxwell. John Maxwell. He's like, a big leadership coach guy. And so I could go on here. Let's go. Let's see here. I'm just going to go, we're on LinkedIn. We could go anywhere, any social platform. Facebook's fine too. So if I just pull up Facebook real quick, we could type in, John Maxwell. It's C, right? There we go. See, he's like separating himself, right? So John Maxwell. So who follows John Maxwell? Well, people that want to build their leadership skills, like entrepreneurs. So this could be a great, and people typically that want more leadership are a great fit for who I was talking to earlier, because he's a leadership coach. And everyone that follows John Maxwell, they're not going to be able to be coached by John Maxwell. You can see here that he has over 4 million followers, or Tony Robbins, right? Go ahead, Rafal.
No. I'm just, this is good because like you said, it's like everyone wants them, but you can't help everybody. So there's so much people that need help with from the other side, 4 million people. That's amazing.
So he does 100%. And so he does like, a recent post saying passionate about, leaders to lead. And so what if you could just look at all the people that are liking this content? And this implies a lot of things. They're saying, hey, Interested in leadership, and you're usually interested in leadership because you're already leading something or somebody or some, people, right? So what if you could just click this, and this is partly how we use Flowchat. We open up our Flowchat, we're a web, software company, web company, but we have an extension also. We go to Facebook and we're looking at likes right now, and I could just auto scroll because there's actually a lot of these here, and it'll start scrolling for me. You see hand check. It's like actually auto scrolling, right? And then, or we could stop it, and then we could just copy all these profiles, right? So these are all what? These are all great leads. Now,
Qualified leads too, because it's
yeah,
right
we
there.
already know a lot about them, right? They're interested in leadership. And if we're a leadership coach or consultant, now I'm giving a specific example. If you're listening, watching this right now, just process, what product or service do you offer? And, who are some of the other bigger competitors or Dream 100 influencers that are in that space? You know what you could also do? Maybe you're like, well, Chris, I don't know. And that's okay. Because what you could do is just say, leadership development or leadership coaching. Like we could just type in that and type in select groups, leadership and personality development group. There's 16,000 people in this Facebook group. You could just go to people and almost 17,000, all these people are interested in leadership and personality development. If you're a leadership coach, this is a freaking gold mine. All these people are already, they're saying, yes, I like this. So if you come to them and you say, hey, would you like more of this? They're like, hell yeah. I love this stuff. Thanks for, approaching me. When you reach out to somebody, and there's a lot of different ways to do that, it works great, right? So like I gave the example earlier, I have a problem. I'm already in, it's like, shoot, I need help with lawn service. I might be like looking at different posts or ads, trying to find local lawn care services. And if one, sees that I'm liking content like that and pursuing it, and they approach me and say, hey, I happen to have the perfect tools, and would this help by chance? Oh my gosh, yes, that would help. That's the exact problem I have. And I help people bridge that gap and make that connection. So this is on Facebook. Another practice is just on LinkedIn. So actually, let's just open up a fresh one. We'll go to LinkedIn here. And let's say that we'll go to search. Let's say we want to talk to sales people. Okay. We could type in, VP of sales. So we search here. Okay. And instead of, we looked at, groups, we looked at posts. Let's go to events. We'll just do another one. There's all kinds of them. Okay. So sales versus marketing battle royale. That sounds interesting. How to build a successful sales culture. So if we click this and we just, it's like, okay, cool. How to build a successful sales culture. Great. It's a webinar. Great. So we'll hit attend here and hit not now to add it to the calendar. And then if I just hit networking, look at this. I'm going to find all these people: head of marketing, growth marketing manager, digital marketing, SaaS founder with one exit. These are all people that are looking to acquire. So if you are a coach, consultant, or you have a lead gen type service, like all these people you want to be best friends with. In fact, let me, oh yeah, I still have it up. This is great. Do you know Eugene Schwartz, Rafal?
No, not I haven't heard.
Okay. And if anyone's listening, it's not The Power of the Schwartz, or, may the Schwartz be with you. It's like some Mel Brooks movie or something from a long time. Different guy. Eugene Schwartz, actually, maybe let's just Google him real quick. Eugene, this is really important for people to grab though. Hang with me on this, because he is one of the best all-time copywriters ever. And so let's do images. This is Eugene. This is what he looks like. Okay. We're talking like Fortune 100 companies plus. Most of the ads you've probably seen, he came up with that copy. He Breakthrough Advertising is one of his books.
Oh, now I have that book actually. Yeah.
He's
been around for a while.
Oh, he's passed now, but okay. He was the best for decades, right? People still use copy that he came up with and frame. We do. And one of the things that he, in the billions of dollars that he closed in ads, is those 5 stages of awareness. And you start with somebody that's unaware and problem aware, solution aware, all the way to most aware. And so what we want to do, and probably you listening, watching this, you really want to spend more time with people that are already at least solution aware, ideally product or most aware, meaning they're warm. They're warm, right? So if you don't want cold, people think, we do outreach. We also do inbound, right? But people are all screwed up with outbound. They're like, oh, it's icky and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't work. It's like, are you out of your mind? Do you understand how valuable like outreach is? Now, when it doesn't work, it's just because people suck at it. And I say that directly, maybe harshly, but it's true. And I used to be one of those people.
Me too.
but I started understanding where people were at in the buying process and how to talk to each of those people. And what happens is it's actually fun, it's interesting, it's engaging, it feels good, you do more of it. And this is one of the big reasons why you can put me in any industry and I will drive transaction and commerce, because I understand how to meet people where they're at and solve problems for them. And so I like to focus more on the warmer because they're shorter sales cycles. So if we go on, LinkedIn, and we just go to events and we find our targeted audience that are already registering and moving towards the type of content and problem we solve, not only do we have the right person, but we have that person that is solution and product aware, actively looking for what we do. We know so much about them. Did I mention that this is organic and completely free? You could do this right now while you're watching me do it with your own audience.
This what blows my mind, Chris, is there are so many people that are doing it incorrectly. Like, you get that message. It's like yes, last night I had a message like, are you interested to make some money online? Like
Yeah.
a cold mess. Like, I don't even know who it is. And second thing with this here is we have a thing called phone, and it's social media, and there's literally unlimited amount of leads. And what you just did, thank you for showing this, because you can actually find your niche, find your target way easier. And I know you guys used to do this through spreadsheets, and now with Flowchat.
Yes. So if in Flowchat, let's just go to the dashboard here. So we can, officially welcome to Flowchat. We have a pipeline copy vault. You can see some copy here. But I'll load just the dashboard, showed just a couple things, so I don't leave you or anyone in the dark. But Flowchat it's a sales tool built by sales professionals, and it helps manage all of the direct messaging that takes place on any social platform. We have the six major ones right now: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Telegram, and Discord. And there's all these different patterns of how we can import and find the right person. And once you find them, we got to build know, like, and trust and communicate with them. And I just followed the numbers, Rafal. Like, I personally, I hate social media. Like, you're not going to find me on Friday night. The kids are in bed. I'm like, oh, I got some extra time. I can't wait just to go through my news feed, that's not me. But I could not ignore the numbers. The numbers say that people log in on average 12 times or more per day to Facebook alone, that alone, other social platforms. And they also are spending 5+ hours a day. And so as a business owner, what I do care about is attention. Oh, the attention's here. Great. I'm going to meet people where they're at. I'm going to understand the psychology of that platform and learn how to connect with people. So we spend a lot of time reminding people of taking what's already working, and then what does that sound and feel like in the environment of DMs. And a big part of this is going to managing it all in a pipeline. Okay, so I'll pull up a pipeline here, and let me show you the problem before I show you the pipeline, because the pipeline's nice. So I'll load one up here for you. It's already done, but this is the problem. If I'm here in Messenger, and the Messenger on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to remember Jeff, Bob, Kyle, or Sarah from two weeks ago, that alone 2 months ago, right? And so a lot of times people don't even respond. Excuse me. So if I don't have a good system for clicking these people and following up, guess what happens? No follow-up happens, and money slips through the cracks. We have a great example of this is Fabi. Fabi is one of our Flowchat members, and she did paid ads to Facebook group to call. That was her sales process, simplified, right? And she was doing about $50,000 per month in sales. She implemented Flowchat. She did in the first 2 months did over $200,000 in sales, simply because she now had a system for follow up, and it looked like this. It's this pipeline, right? So people come in once we import them from posts or from ads or from searches that we're doing. They're in. We know they're all targeted now. Now we want to send them a connection request or a friend request. We move them along, right? And it's as simple as we could go, zoom in here. This Colin's on Facebook, so we'll click this one and we'll go see if Colin's a good fit, right? And so we have a whole standard operating procedure of how we go through the about section and content that they're posting and all the different things. Let's just assume that Colin's the right fit. And I hit add as a friend here, and we can go back to Flowchat. I'll zoom back out and we simply just drag and drop into their friend request column. You can also label these for different reasons. Pink is indicating that my profile is talking to Colin. If Sean or Bruno or different profiles that we're using are talking to that card, we would use a different color. So simply put, the game is to get the cards from left to right, right? We like to lead with an invitation, invite somebody into our community. It gives space, allows us to get to know each other. There's not the pressure is created when you're trying to sell too soon. The pressure and that gross, crappy, everyone hates it feeling on both sides is when you go to sell too soon, right? So we have about the average is 7 to 12 touches. You need 7 to 12 touches before you go in for an ask to get optimal closes. So in this process, we go further along, and I'm talking to Alex, for example. I can now hit this message button, and I don't have to endlessly scroll and wonder where he's at. I can go directly to the one-on-one conversation that we're having, and we're good, right? So we can send the next message from here, and it's added to the clipboard. So I can just right-click and paste, and then put that next message. Now I want to show you this. I could paste it there, but let me show you where it's pulling from. It's pulling from the template library, right? We'll zoom out further. Here's our template library. So if I were to send this, it's like we have this message there. We have this message available. And notice that it says, no worries, Alex. Here, I'll click here. So we can even go in here and edit this if we want. So here it says, no worries, first name. But since in this case, we're talking to Alex, isn't that cool? It auto-populates the first name for us. No worries, Alex. Let's just stay connected here on Facebook. I can simply click this and then just send it to him. So this has allowed us in 3 clicks to send a message, drag and drop to the next column, and move on. And people aren't slipping through the cracks. And the money's in the follow-up. Usually I don't have to remind or sell anyone on that idea too hard. And that's simply what we're doing. So, this particular pipeline that we're looking at is on its way of closing already, $1 million, and we're not even a year into running this particular pipeline. And of course, this particular one's only on Facebook. We have LinkedIn ones, we have Instagram ones, we have all different types of pipelines and flows. So this is a little inside, track of, hey, here's a targeted way to go find the different people that we want to engage with and talk to. And here's a systematic plan of how we're going to engage in a conversation and not forget, and make sure that we get to that 7th touch, that 10th touch, and close more deals.
You know what? When I first noticed, and then all I saw, that was 6 months ago, literally. That's when I first ever saw, and it was just still in development and beta version, testing different. This new look just. When I saw that, just when they pressed import and they went in, it's like, that's what I can do. And then I went into that follow-up we just talked about, and I started looking at the conversation, because I used to run a lot of paid advertising, and I couldn't find people. And I found people from 4 years ago that they're ready to buy, but I lost them somewhere in the messenger. And I've tried different CRMs. I tried different areas. This is so unique and so driven. If you guys haven't heard of Flowchat, you will. Down the road, you're going to hear more about it, because more and more people are using. I think that right now you guys are almost 450, 500 businesses that are using this, and this is just the first year. So again, if you guys want to check it out, thank you for being here, obviously. But just to give you an idea what's possible going through this process, you're welcome to go to onlineguide.flowchat.software. There's a video that explains everything. And you're welcome to book a private demo. You can actually see exactly how this could literally transform your business as well. So amazing. All right,
Yeah.
Chris, I know we've been here for a little bit. I want to ask you one thing. What is one question you wished I asked you, and how would you answer it? I love that one.
The question, what do I wish you would say it again?
What one question you wished I've asked you, and how would you have answered it? Sorry, my
Oh
Polish
man.
accent.
That is I have no idea. That's a good question. I wish I could say, Chris, like what's the best way to stay revenue focused, I think. And I say, it's easy to think, oh, money first, but it's like if you're really focused on revenue, to really nail it, you have to focus on serving people and getting them results. And it just seems to be like the right focal point, as chaotic as business can be, that keeps it fun, keeps you engaged, keeps growth happening and momentum, moving forward. And so I would say that.
No, that's awesome. I've never asked that question, so I'm like, I'll throw it out there. But one of the biggest things too, Chris, is, and I know you guys had so many clients that had results. From I know you have your own show as well, like Spotlight, where you actually interview different guests throughout, and there's so many people that have either use the software or worked with you guys. And I think revenue, it's really important. It's like actually what you take in, because a lot of people, I made $100,000, but they spend 95,000 on advertising. You know what I mean? It's what you take home. And I think showing results is the big one as well.
Yes.
It's massive. So Chris, thank you so much for being my guest here. It's incredible. I mean, if you guys have not heard of Flowchat again, you guys welcome to check it out. Second thing is, remember that there is so many ways you can run your business, but if you learn from people that actually had the results that you might be looking for, you gotta listen to them, because you know what? That's what has helped me to move up in this business and quitting my corporate job. I'm the corporate runaway. That's that's the way I am set up. So, Chris, anything else at the end? I just want to say thank you for taking the time. I know you're extremely busy, and we'll definitely see you on the inside.
Yes. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for following. Thanks for listening and watching.
All right.